The next item tonight is Pollinator Week, and it's my pleasure to issue a proclamation as I have done in past years. Whereas pollination is a critical part of food crop production and biodiversity worldwide, and whereas pollinator species such as birds and insects are essential partners of farmers in producing much of our food supply, and whereas as a group pollinators are threatened by habitat fragmentation, pesticides, disease, and parasites, and whereas pollinators including bees, moths, flies, beetles, wasps, bats, hummingbirds, and butterflies pollinate agricultural products valued at tens of billions of dollars every year in the United States. And whereas, according to the USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service, in the Intermountain West, bees pollinate about $14 billion worth of crops annually. And whereas one of those crops is Idaho's alfalfa seed crop that ranks second in the nation for overall production and first in production of dormant seed for cold climates with an annual estimated value of more than $17 million. And whereas the University of Idaho is actively engaged in research to develop pesticides that protect valuable crops without harming pollinators or other beneficial insects. And whereas home gardeners recognize the role that pollinators play in producing colorful flowers and familiar crops as apples, cherries, plums, pears, nuts, berries, pumpkins, squash, cucumbers, watermelon, and cantaloupe. And whereas citizens are encouraged to reduce pesticide use and create pollinator habitats in their yards, schools, and other nearby lands to reduce the demise of pollinators. And whereas the City of Moscow Comprehensive Plan includes preservation of open space and parkland and planting of trees and native plants as desirable practices. And whereas Latah Soil and Water Conservation District, the Xerces Society for Invertebrate Conservation, Idaho Conservation Data Center, Idaho Department of Fish and Game, the NatureServe Network, Palouse Land Trust, and the University of Idaho provide information and assistance to promote wise environmental stewardship, including the protection of soils, water, and habitats that support pollinators. And whereas national recognition for this 5th annual event is scheduled for June 20th through 26, 2011, now therefore I, Nancy Cheney, Mayor of the City of Moscow, Idaho, do hereby proclaim the week of June 20th through 26th as Pollinator Week in the City of Moscow. And I encourage citizens to avoid unnecessary use of pesticides and to nurture habitats that promote the vitality of pollinators and restoration of their populations. And we'll be sure Stephanie has already sent that to the headquarters for Pollinator Week in San Francisco, and we'll be sharing it with other interested neighbors.